Good morning, good people. Listen, y'all forgive my voice this morning. We had my blues loving auntie had a get together yesterday at my Uncle Frank's house. There and my voice is, we was laughing and kicking it. So my voice is it sounding a little bit like Barry White, but we are going to teach the word this morning. I'm excited. So last week I feel like they're sending out the recaps, so I'm not going to do a really big recap. I would encourage you to read the recaps. And I'm going to say this not because I taught it, but last week's lesson was so good to me. Because we talked about the container, right? We talked about the container. The before you can talk about wine or new wine or old wine, you got to talk about what is holding it. And the only thing I will say about last week is that we talked about the container being us, being our bodies, our vessels, our souls, holding the wine, holding the capacity of the old and the rate and the newness of the new wine, right? And so this week we are going to talk primarily about old wine. The next week we'll talk about the new wine, and I think the 6 week. Like I know I said I need 2 more weeks, but I'm probably gonna need one more after this. But we'll see how we do. But we're gonna talk about the old wine. Now, I'm gonna say this: if you are a traditionalist, this is gonna make you very uncomfortable. But I encourage you to hear this lesson with an open mind. I encourage you to hear this word because it's scripturally based. This is not me and my opinions or my thoughts or what I feel. I don't think that tradition is there's anything wrong with tradition. I think tradition becomes an issue when we try to bind it as if people are going to go to hell if they don't participate in tradition. I've shared plenty of times on this call that my family has a family song, and it's a tradition for us to for every generation to add to the family song. And so the 4 year olds, we have 6 4 year olds in our family. So the 4 year olds are trying to figure out what their new part or their song is. They're I think they're called Gen X or something. It's a bunch of them. They're four, but they're like 7 8. The oldest one is maybe like 10. But anyway, they're trying to figure out what their new version, what they're gonna add to the family song. And my mother had every morning she'll play Sunday, she plays Pass Me Not, Oh Gentle Savior. When Aretha Franklin singing, and my 4 year old niece Ella goes to my mama the other day, she says, Grandma, please don't play that Lord's Supper song no more. Don't play that Lord's Supper song. Find something else. We don't like this one. And so there's nothing wrong with tradition. We have family reunions every year. That's a tradition. If there's nothing wrong with routines. As a matter of fact, I believe routines is what grounds us. It helps us to be structured. For me, my routine is I get up every morning and take Ollie to daycare, and then me and my sister go walk a mile and a half every morning, or we line dance every morning. That's routine. It becomes a habit for me. It's become second nature for me. So when we don't work out or we don't line dance, I can feel it in my body, right? That's this tradition that we build up. But if I skip a day or two, a week, a month, now it may hurt me physically, but I'm not gonna go to hell because I didn't participate in exercising, right? I want us to understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with tradition, but we need to stop binding it. So I'm just laying the groundwork for what we're about to talk about today. So this old wine, and I've titled this Comfortable in Traditions and Rigid Religion. And so here's the core theme of this. Why do people resist the new? Because the old is familiar, preferred, it feels safe. And Jesus acknowledges this and causes us to examine this. This is why we've been in this. When he says, why aren't your disciples fasting? He said, well, what need do they have to fast when the bridegroom is here with them, right? Why would we take? And I went through the examples last week or the week before last when we talked about the shirt and taking the material of something new and patching it on something that has been worn and washed. And what happens is that old material will cause the new material to stretch past its time because now it's compensating for the lack of elasticity with all the other things. When something is a new garment, it all bears the weight itself. But when you have something old and raggedy and you put something new on it, it stretches the new faster than it would if it was surrounded by new garments or by other things that were comfortably made when it was made. I hope that made sense. Let me give you a better example. When I was in school, my friends, I have 5 best friends who one of them we've been best friends since 8th grade. And this is my next to my sister. This is the most closest person to me and my husband. Her name is Crystal, and we all laugh because I went through. I think I shared the story with y'all when I was dating this guy, and I was so in love with him, and I went through this. We broke up, and I went through this depression where I had these blue shorts that I loved. These they were like blue. They stopped at my knees, and I had gotten out the first day I got them. I ripped a little hole in them, right? But I kept them. I didn't throw them away because I was on a college student budget, so I just kept them. And every time I watched, the hole would get bigger and bigger. But I love the way they made my booty look. I love the way they made my legs look. So I got some safety pins, and I put them together, right? And I promise you, I would have those pants to this day, but I couldn't figure out which one of them threw it away when I was moving. And so finally, we were all on the phone laughing, but they was like, "Girl, you used to wear them shorts, them pants." I did not care. I didn't care if I looked raggedy. It gave me comfort. It made me feel good. You know, you have your comfort house dress you wear around the house when you're trying to relax. Like when you don't, like I have pajamas, but there's this one. Like when I really just had a long day, I done took me a hot shower, I done did my skincare, and I just want to lay up and read or lay up and watch me a good TV show. I got this one dress I'm gonna always go to. And I make sure it's clean because that's the one that feels the best to me. It's what's familiar to me, what's come. We all have that our favorite pair of something. I got my favorite wig. Okay. I got a favorite wig, Lord. When I know I'm about to look good, good. My makeup on point, I'm like, let me pop my favorite wig out, right? We all have something that is comfortable to us. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel like ourselves. And that's what we find when we have traditions and rigid religion. It's what's preferred because the reality is we really don't want to do nothing different. We don't want to do anything different. And so some key scriptures to this is in Luke 5:39. We've been in this, but he says, and no one after drinking old wine wants the new, for they say the old is better. He says there is not a person that would pay top dollar for new wine. He was like, because if you're looking at it in the flesh, the older wine tastes better than the new wine because the new wine is sweet. Unless you are a person that prefers sweet wine, and then you won't like the old, right? And so what God is basically saying is that sometimes we gotta train ourselves to like something different. When I was growing up, you couldn't pay me to eat squash and zucchini. Oh, you could. Child, you know my mom be like, it'll eat you. You'll eat it before it eat you. No, it ate me. Cause ain't no way. I starved. I just there were certain things you couldn't pay me to like certain things as a child. Now that I'm older and they got diabetes out here, and I done learned about all this other stuff, they're gonna chop your leg off out like Big Mama on soul food. Baby, I be tearing that zucchini and squash up. I'll tear them carrots up. I tell them there are certain, because when you're a child, you just want sweet, 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 sweet. But when you get older and you realize, like, hey, what my great grandmama did, so my grandmother's mother used to tell us, you dig in your grave with your teeth. She wasn't lying. She was not lying. But when you get older, your palate matures, and I don't like as many sweets as I used to, right? I don't. I like my food cooked. I don't necessarily want to eat out all the time. I want some butter. I want some real butter, not margarine. Like there, as you get older, you prefer different things because there are things that you eat now that you never would have ate as a child because as a child your palate was not mature enough for that, right? But now that you've gotten older and you lived a little longer and you realize that there are some things you have to eat and take that you don't like, but it's good for you, right? There are some things that you know you need to be taking because it's good for your health. And I used to, this is when I remember back, this is right before the pandemic, 2019. My doctor said, Katrina, she said, or was it a he? I don't remember who I had at the time, but they were like, you're pre-diabetic and you are like borderline, and we're gonna have to start giving you some insulin. I said, hold on, because I hear about it all the time. I said, is this the same disease that Big Mama had in soul food where they had to get her leg? And they was like, yeah, that's the same. I said, wait a minute. And they chopped her whole leg off. And I said, yeah. And she went back and started eating them collard greens and all that stuff after they told this. I said, so what I need to do? He said, you need to lose some weight. I decided that day because I don't like needles. I don't like needles. And so to me, is in my family, you just have to know my family, everybody fat. And they all eat good. Like these people over here don't know how to make one meat. Like I told y'all, we eat together every Sunday. I literally just text my auntie in the family group text what we eating today. She already talking about fried chicken, fried fish, grits, coleslaw. Like she'd have got a whole, like she do this every Sunday. Not to mention yesterday we ate good. This family don't know nothing about no levity and no. But I can tell you one thing, I need both my feet. I need my foot. I'm not That is a time and a place where you have to decide that you have to do and you want to consume even what doesn't taste good for you. I know I'm taking a long time to get to the scriptures, but I need you to get this point. A mature adult understands that I may have to take Father John when I'm sick. Father John got to be the nastiest thing. I don't know who. Satan himself created Father John. But let me tell you something. When you sick, you can put that rubber tussin. I don't want no rubber tussin. Don't bring me no dime tap. Bring me Father John, because I'm telling you, it still work. We want to, but no. When I'm been coughing more than 2 days, what a Father John at? Why? Because I know it's nasty. I know I'm gonna have to hold my breath to drink it, but I know I'm gonna feel better. And sometimes you have to want to feel better more than you. In order to feel better, sometimes you got to feel discomfort. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Sometimes when you go to the doctor and you have to take that nasty medication, but it's a plan to make you feel better. This is what we're about to get to in Luke. He says when somebody gets old wine, they don't want the new because they're going to say it's better. Why? Because it's matured and it's comfortable. And now he said, but maybe you need to train yourself to want something new, right? In Matthew 15:19, Jesus confronts the Pharisees about placing traditions above God's command. Tutu, I know I'm asking you last minute, but can you get Matthew 15:1-9 for me real quick? And then I'm going to read Galatians 5:1. Write these scriptures down because I want this is the basis for being comfortable in traditions and rigid religion. Again, I'm not saying there's a sin in tradition. I'm saying we're too comfortable. Galatians 5:1. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. It is for freedom. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then and do not let yourselves be burdened again with the yoke of slavery. He said the whole reason he even came down here was to set you free. He says you need to don't get yoked up again. If you was in slavery, and we can only imagine. Listen, we as Black people, we understand slavery. We've been taught slavery. If you don't believe what you've been taught in school, and you really get out here and get some books and you start really reading about slavery. I'm not talking about the stuff they taught us in school, because see, that was water. When I started really reading about the horrors of slavery, I want my 40 acres and a mule today. Okay, I need my little bit. I'm gonna need my little bit today. And let me just put this little bug in your ear. And I know this ain't got nothing to do with the Bible, but I just want to say this. They done got y'all mind so warped that some of y'all sit out and say, well, I don't want reparations. I'm just gonna get it up by my bootstrap. They have had 400 years ahead of you. What are you talking? Let me get back to my Bible. Okay. So he says, I have come to Christ came to set you free. He said, don't burden yourself. Don't yoke yourself back up with the burden. Don't get back up caught in what you used to do when I have set you free. It's like I know somebody that is a family member who was crying about their spouse abusing them, right? They got a gang of brothers, they got a gang of uncles. These my people. And my folks crazy. Like, they would go to jail behind one of us. I know if my daddy was alive, he sure go to jail behind me and my sister. So I couldn't understand how she was being abused and her sons weren't doing nothing. So I called my cousin. I was like, hey, not that I want my cousin gonna go beat his butt, but my cousin told me just like, he said, man, look. He said, I'm not finna go over there and fight this man for her to go back to him. He said, I'm not doing it. I got a kid and I got a wife. He said, and I'm not finna put my freedom on the line when she's going to go back. She's gonna yoke herself back up to him. What I'm going to jail for? He said, I love her. She my mama. He said, but we done fought before. We done argued before. And where she at? Right over there. He said, I feel bad. I don't like it. He said, but my mama was grown when I met her. You know what I said to him? You are absolutely correct. Let me mind my business and go on. Because see, sometimes when people are so yoked up in their own traditions and they know it's not good, they'll cry about it. If you can cry about it, you know it don't. You're so caught up in wanting somebody next to you that you wouldn't let the person next to you beat your head in. Ain't nothing I can do about it. Ain't. I can't waste none of my resources. I'm not gonna go to jail behind you. But when you're ready to be set free, because what he said was he came to set you free. But when you're ready to be set free, we'll help you. But you gotta, but her own son said, he value his own son and his own relationship and his own family more than he did his mama. He said, because she ain't gonna do nothing but go. We done been here before. And there are some people, they have to come, like the prodigal sons, they have to come to their own senses. You won't have time to waste no energy trying to get them out of it. They got to figure it out for themselves. Okay, Matthew 15, 1 through 9. Did you get that for me, Tutu?
Yes. Then some Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread." And he answered and said to them, "Why do you yourselves transgress the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God said, 'Honor your father and mother,' and he who speaks evil of father or mother is to be put to death. But you say, 'Whoever says to his father or mother, whatever I have that would help you has been given to God,' he is not to honor his father or his mother. And by this you invalidated the word of God for the sake of your tradition.
Hold on,
You
Tutu. Hold
hypocrites."
on, Tutu. Hold on. I could sit right there the rest of this lesson and we can go home. He says you have invalidated. Do you know what it means to invalidate something? That means that you say it has no value. That it's not important. It's not the most important. It might be important, but it's not the most. What he's saying is that God said that if you cuss your mama or your daddy or speak ill, you got to be, girl, it wouldn't be hardly nobody walking around here if they were still under this old law. He said you need to be put to death, not on a punishment, not in time out, not in we go in no contact. He said put to death. That means your life is over. He said, but no, what you tell these people now is that if you give me your stuff and you say it's for God, then that you not as bad off as you was. God says what you done is what God considers to be a sin. You have placated it for your own riches. You are a hypocrite. And what God is saying, and that's what you see in the church. He says we got so caught up in traditions. You ask God, why don't your disciples wash their hands before they eat? Now we know you need to wash your hands before you eat. It's for cleanliness, right? But God is saying, but if a person is homeless and hungry, who got time to argue with them about washing their hands? What's more important? Them eating us feeding them or making a big deal because they did not wash their hands. You can't be out here talking about you want to serve the homeless and then cringe because they get out the dirt and eat the food. Why are you here? Why? I can't stand working for people who scared of poor people, who scared of homeless people. I want to give back to the community. And we get out here, you handing the people the stuff like this. Like you scared. Girl, go home. Go home. You don't really want to serve. You want to make yourself feel better. You want to make yourself feel better. You see it all the time. You got churches that are dab splat in the hood. In the hood. They can hear the bullets while they singing, "Our God is still alive." And they don't want to go in the streets. They don't want to walk the streets. They don't want to talk to people. They run into their cars. Pack your church up and move. Pack it up and move. Cause what's the point of you being there just cause the tax is low? What I'm asking is if God has strategically placed hospitals, churches in every community, it's a reason why you're there. And yet you are so afraid of the people that are in your area and where you serve that all you think about is yourself. He says, what is the point? You are a hypocrite. Because what is what you so concerned about? Well, they got that short skirt on and they coming up in here and they doing this and they that. God said, well, what's more important? What is more important? There's a brother in my church I'm really close to. If I had a brother, he would probably be the brother I never wanted. But we real close. But he is very militant, very militant. Very few people like him. But I have seen personally what God has done in his heart. So, but a while ago, we had two sisters that was coming up the hill. Our church was getting our parking lot repaved. And so the sisters and everybody would have to park down the hill. And our church is on the hill. And they were using the van to bring people up. But if you came at a certain time when church started, they wouldn't do, you had to walk. So we had an older sister, and this sister, baby, she gonna wear her some heels. I don't care if we had to walk up Mount Sinai. She gonna walk up Mount Sinai with them heels on. Well, anyway, she come walking up the hill, and she was late, and I was in the hall, and he was in. I was coming out the sanctuary, but I think we were about to do like prayer, the scripture and prayer, whatever. So as she's praying, they're praying. She's knocking on the door to get in, and she had some people with her. She had some visitors, and he's just standing there, and he's just standing there, and he's just standing there. And finally, I go and I open up the door. And she goes to him after prayer. She said, "Why would you not open up the door?" And he looked at her and said, "Well, if you was on time, you wouldn't have to worry about it." And I looked at him and said, "Well, what do you think God is more concerned about?" I said, "Do you see how crazy you sound?" I said, "This lady got guests with her." And I said this in front of him and them. I said, "And what's more impressionable that there's a man of God want to make sure the women of the God get in this place safely?" I said, "What do you think God is more pleased with? The fact that you just kept praying and ignored his daughters, or the fact that you could have gone and opened up the door for his daughter?" Like, see, God is saying you are more concerned about the rules and regulation and not the heart in which they were made. And that's the problem with the church. That is the problem with the body. When I say church, I'm talking about Christians everywhere. That we are more concerned with rules and you're more concerned about abortion being a sin than actually dealing with women and their low self-esteem and making sure that we create places where women of God understand why they need to honor God with their bodies. God says you're more concerned. I'm gonna vote for Trump because abortion is a sin. And Trump don't care about the homeless. He don't care about he racist. So God is saying, wait a minute now. What are you talking about? And I'm gonna say the same thing for Democrats too, because they may care about the homeless, but they don't care about abortion. As children of God, number one, we can't be single voting people anyway. But we got to be able to call spades a spade, no matter who the party is. Do you understand me? But when we try to lump everything, God says what you've decided is what's important to you. Abortion is your issue. And so every other sin they commit, every atrocity has taken place because Christians call themselves voting against. You care about abortions, but then you are against children eating free in school. You care about abortions, but you're against food stamps. You care about abortion, but you don't want people to have daycare. You're not pro-life. You just pro. I'm gonna tell you what to do with your body, but when the child get here, I don't care no more. If you pro-life from the beginning to the end. We shouldn't argue about whether children should be able to eat free in school. We shouldn't argue about whether we should have means to be able to take care of homeless and poor people. We just created a trillion before we saw world hunger. The world is corrupt. And there are those of us who will applaud that and not be disgusted that one man has all. God says, what is the tradition that you care about more than the spirit to which it was created? Now I'm getting off of my lesson, but it just needs to be said because we just created a trillionaire. And there's no such thing as an ethical trillionaire. There's no such thing as an ethical billionaire. There's no such thing. No person should live in a world. Well, we have I don't, and when I hear people say, well, you know what? That's capitalism. You know what that is? That's envy. Because you hope it's you one day. I don't ever want that much wealth for myself. Now, I don't want to be poor either. I don't want to be poor. I've been poor. I don't like it. So let me be clear. I work every day. We have a decent life. We live in a decent house. We drive decent cars. But my husband and I make a conscious decision. And my husband is more liberal than me. Like, I think I might be more conservative than my husband. Think everybody should be able to live the life they want to live. He don't care. But one of the things, we don't vote based on our income. We vote based on what's best for humanity overall. That's what we've decided. And I'm so glad that I'm married to a man that I don't have to argue with about what's right morally. I don't want to argue with my husband. My husband makes way more money than me. He does extremely well. And I'm telling you right now, we would be homeless if it was up to him because my husband would give all our wealth away. I have to remind him every day we got bills to pay too. And I need to eat good. What is you talking about? I'm fat. I gotta eat my food. Why are you over here trying to give my money away? Like I'm fat. You married a fat lady. I want to eat. But that's the type of heart he has. And what I'm saying to you is, and I'm gonna get back to my old wine and traditions, we have allowed this corrupt white supremacy systems to make us envy people who have stolen since they got to this land. They've been stealing since they ain't came on nothing legitimately. And yet we will applaud. God says, and this goes back to the Pharisees. God says, you asking me why they ain't washed their hands. And I'm asking you, why is it still poverty in the land, in the richest country in the world? Hmm? Because we've gotten caught up in the rules and the traditions instead of the heart in which God created the thing in the first place. Okay, let me move on. Here's the problem with preferring the old. In Luke 5:30, it's often overlooked. He says the old is better. Jesus is not condemning the old wine. It's what I said earlier. I'm not condemning tradition. I'm not we got traditions in my family. He is diagnosing the human tendency to prefer comfort. Did you hear what I said? He's not condemning the old. He's diagnosing our problem because we are comfortable. When I go in the morning, if I walk in this house, if I done had a long, hard day and it's hot in here, I'm already irritated because who touched my air? I set my temperature on what I want this house to feel like when I come back because guess what I want to be? Comfortable. See, I don't really like to work. Well, one thing I'm going to work for 2 reasons. Well, 3. I got to eat. I got to have pay my housekeeper Alfreda. I don't care if I got to go get a part-time job at McDonald's. Alfreda gonna be. I told Alfreda she gonna always be employed here, baby. I don't care because I'm not cleaning up. And then number 2 is because I got to have my air in Alabama heat in the summer. Like, girl, if I got to go work 3 jobs to pay for air, I ain't cutting my air off. I'm not doing it. It's hot. And that's 110 in Alabama in the shade. I absolutely must have air. My point is that I don't really enjoy working, but I want to be comfortable. So I have to do things to make sure my life is comfortable. God says you love your comfort more than you need than you understand that you need to change a little bit. You don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't none of if you go in that church building today and it's hot, you gonna complain the whole time. You ain't gonna, but you ain't gonna hardly sing. You ain't gonna hardly hear what that man preaching up there today because all you gonna think about is how hot it is. Why? Because you're uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. If you wake up and you decide you got your mouth set. Now I'm talking about myself. Now you got your mouth set on some of your refrigerator that you know you're gonna eat, and then you come home and the box is in the trash can because your husband went and ate your food when you asked him did he want something, but he said no, and then he went and ate your. Okay, I'm getting personal. I'm getting mad all over again. My point is, you made me uncomfortable. Now I got to figure out what I'm gonna eat. God is not saying there's anything wrong with the old. He's diagnosing our tendency to want to be comfortable more than anything. The Pharisees had centuries of religious practice, traditions, and identities that were not evil. They were just simply insufficient for what God was trying to do with Christ. It was fine before Christ came. It was good. You know, the traditions of when you think about why we dress up every Sunday, right? We dress up because slaves never had an opportunity. The only time they ever really had a chance to dress up or not work was on Sundays. And they got together and they had a preacher and they looked because also too, you got to understand Black people coming out of slavery, coming out of Jim Crow dressed up because back then, if you dressed a certain way, people treated you respectfully. So people, we tried our best to look like how we wanted to be treated, even though we were treated badly, right? And that worked for that time period, right? It's okay. But now the fact that y'all get upset because the children want to wear jeans to church, ain't nothing in that Bible say these children can't come to church with jeans on. If you want to dress up for church, dress up for church. I dress up every Sunday. I wear makeup every Sunday. But I'm not condemning them young folks that's coming in there with jeans. And as long as they coming in, I'm good. Yeah, what they coming in on? I don't care if they wear jeans every day and Jordans. They can love God in their jeans and their Jordans. They can love God with dreadlocks. They can love God with braids. They can love God with pink hair. I don't care. But because that's a tradition that has embedded in us since white supremacy, We make it an issue. I know churches where if you don't wear a tie and a button-down shirt, they won't let you serve on the Lord's table. Now they know it's a tradition and they know it's wrong. But what they call themselves doing is trying to get the men to elevate themselves, and I just call it white supremacy. Because if a person loves God, who is telling them how they need to be before their God? My point is, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not debating that with y'all. That ain't my point is that you allowed your traditions that you love to be a symbol to somebody else's salvation. And that's the issue. There's a difference between valuing heritage and being enslaved to a form of a thing. That's what we have. We can value heritage. We can value our conferences. We can value the national lectureship and all of these things. But and I'm gonna say this, and I don't care that it's being recorded. But the national lectureship, you know why they can't get but 100, 200 people? Because it's a mess now. It was not created to be a mess, but it's a mess now. Every time you go, it's drama that comes out the national lectureship. And you couldn't pay me $1. You couldn't say, Katrina, we're gonna pay for you and Corey to come for free. Would you come? And my answer would be absolutely not. Why? Because I don't associate myself with mess. I'm not interested in that type of stuff. But you know why people go is because their tradition and the things that I hear, the lectures that I hear, they're not anything that's elevating us to study more or pushing us to learn more and do more. And if I'm talking about one of your husbands on there teaching, they're good because you need to go back and tell them I said it. My point is that instead of them using this conference like it used to be to elevate us and to motivate us to teach. Now they use it as their own personal get back. I'm gonna talk about so and so. I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna confront this preacher. No, confront him on your cell phone where you pay your cell bill, not with the saints. But let me tell you what has happened. We value the heritage of a thing more than we value. It's not even heritage anymore. We've become enslaved to. If I don't care how much I love a retreat, when it stops serving the purpose, I'm out of there. You won't see me again. You ain't got to worry about me. I don't care if it's 3 million of y'all go to the latest lecture. And when it stops serving me, you'll never see me speak and you'll never see me there because I don't value it more than I value God. And that's our problem. I'm not going to go to a church where I'm not being fed. I don't care how good they sing. I don't care what they got going on. The minute the word stops valuing and teaching, and I feel like they picking and doing everything but what God calls you, I'll start a church in my house before I let somebody stand over me doing anything other than what God has called me to do. Do you understand me? That's what I mean by when I say there's nothing wrong with heritage. There's nothing wrong with going to a place that you went there your whole life. But if you still don't know the books of the Bible in order, what's the point? Why are you there? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. Like, why am I here? And let me make sure, because I don't want to put this all on the preacher and the first lady and all that, because some of this is you, because you don't open up your Bible. You can't learn everything on Sundays and Wednesdays. You ain't open up your Bible all weekend. Now you blaming the preacher. No, it's you. God is saying you're more concerned about just showing up and driving up and being on the road at the church instead of wanting to be on the road when they call in heaven. That's going to be your problem. Okay, let me see what time it is. Make sure. Okay, got a few more minutes. And so we're talking through the insufficiency. And I think let me share because I'm gonna have to use this one day in the Lord. Say this time. It wasn't that the tradition or the old wine was bad. It was insufficient. When something is insufficient, you know what it is when you ain't got enough funds and then you don't swipe that card. They say you got insufficient funds. You ain't got enough to cover what you got to pay for. That's what he said. It's not that the Old Testament was wrong. It was insufficient. It couldn't cover your sins the way Jesus could. Those goat, those lambs, them doves was insufficient. They blood could not cover the debt. They needed something greater. It was insufficient funds. It ain't nothing wrong with tradition, but it's insufficient to what Christ was about to introduce. Freedom. Do you know what freedom? The Bible says, who the Son set free, he is free indeed. Free indeed. When you walk in freedom in Christ, it ain't nothing that scare you. I'm not saying you don't be fearful. I'm not saying you don't shiver, but you keep moving. You keep moving because you know that ain't gonna. You not. It ain't nothing you can do. My point is that when we're talking about old wine, old traditions, rigid systems, we have to ask ourselves, what is the basis? Where do we get this from? Right? I shared the story about the ham. I told y'all about the ham and how they were cutting that ham, and they finally went back. And she said, "Oh, we just didn't have a big enough pan." It wasn't because it was anything wrong with the ends. That's the best part of the ham, if you ask me. But when all you know is cutting off the ham, you just keep doing it without questioning. Why do we do? And you know, we may have a good reason. It may be book, chapter, and verse why we do what we do, like baptism, right? Great, let's keep it. But if it's because that's all we've been taught, and we ain't got no book, no chapter, no nothing, no context. I'm not saying we got to stop doing it, but what we got to stop doing is saying other people are in sin because they choose to engage in it. Okay, okay. All right. What's the old wineskin represents? Religious laws as a performance systems, religious and righteousness through rule keeping, fast and tithing, Sabbath day observing as identity markers rather than acts of love. What am I saying? God is saying you so caught up in singing 5 songs every Sunday, a 30-minute sermon, the Lord's Supper, prayer and dismissal, that when they give the announcements about the sit and shut in, you get up and walk out of church because you've done your service for the day instead of listening about who's sick so you can pray over them. Because guess what? That doesn't matter to you because service is over. You've done your worship. God says there's an act of love and staying through announcements so you can write down the sisters and brothers that need prayer so you can pray as a collective group. It's God saying that's an act of love. I know I done offended some of y'all because I know y'all be getting up there marching. As soon as they say, get up there with them announcing, you come marching out the door. And then you know they finna announce the sickness. God says that it's the acts of love. You're so caught up. I did my 5 acts. I did my 5 acts, but there was no act of love. It's no act of love. You gave. Yeah, you sung your 5 songs. Yes, you sit and listen to a 30-minute sermon. Yes, you prayed. Yes, you did all of those things. But you did. Where was the act of love? We are so caught up in those things that if they got up there and went 45 minutes instead of 30, people gonna complain. Don't let an old brother get up there and get to praying for real. Oh, that he prayed too. I done heard it 1,000 times. He prayed too long. He prayed. No, he didn't pray too long. He just didn't work in your tradition. He didn't work in what you're used to. And so because you're not used to it, now it's too long. He wasn't in sin. How is talking to the Father too long? But I done stood at a Beyonce concert on my feet for 2 hours. I have. Baby, I be out there running, just dance, had me a good time, jamming. I done been to a 3 6 Mafia concert this back when I was in sin. I ain't been recently. I might go, but never. And rapped every lyric till my feet hurt. Jamming. Just had me a good old time. I ain't complaining not damn time. So I got home late in my bed and my feet was hurt. And then I always be like, it was worth every uncomfortable. You know why? Because we do what we want to do. We enjoy what we enjoy. And when it ain't what we see, that's why you don't love God. I'm not saying you don't love God, but you don't love God enough to where if they pray longer than they should, you be excited about it. I was talking to Sister Di was telling me about service at Grave Road. I know she don't mind me telling y'all this, but y'all, if you know me and Jeremy, y'all know we bump heads, but I love Jeremy. But one thing about Grave Road, they gonna have some freedom church. Okay. If you ain't never been to Grave Road Church, baby, they free up there. Okay. And I be marching with the big dogs, having me a good time. And even Jeremy, little burnt, boring preaching be good sometimes. Okay. And here's the thing. I don't never look at a clock. I don't never look at my watch when Brandon get back up there and sing another song. I don't ever get up there when Brother George get to pray. I don't be looking because it be so good. They can keep when they say Paul preached until midnight. As long as Paul was preaching the truth and preaching good, me and Paul would have been now. Because when you love God, you just want to hear from him. And I know people like, it don't take all that. But what else do you say don't take all of that? We only say that when it's stuff that we're not fully committed to, that we don't enjoy. And maybe you need to rethink wanting to go to heaven because I don't think you've read the book of Revelations about what we're going to be doing in heaven. What do you think? Do y'all think y'all gonna go in them mansions and watch Roku TV? I I really want to know what you think you finna, because you know we love to talk about he gonna build my mansion. I really think that we think we're gonna be having pool parties and watching Roku and Tubi. Because I really want to get what you think we finna. Did you read Isaiah when he said what they were doing around the throne? That there was 12 kings in Revelations 1. There were 12 kings around him, and they had crowns on their head, and they threw it at the one that was sitting in the big seat talking about God. So they threw the crowns down. They got on their knees and said, Holy, holy, holy. These were all important men in their time, and they threw their crown down. This is in Revelation is a preview to heaven. Okay? So if you got an issue, because they sung 3 more songs, 17 minutes longer, you might want to rethink heaven. Because what you think, I bet you this what you think. Well, once I get to heaven, I'll be able to do it. No, this the training ground. This, if you don't enjoy it here, you're not going to enjoy it there. You won't be there. Let me tell you, you won't be there because God already know you don't enjoy it here. You will not be there with us. You won't. And let me tell you, it takes training to enjoy it. And because I didn't wake up with this type of, I used to sleep in church when I was a little girl. My daddy used to get so mad. He'd be up there preaching his face off. And I'd be on my grandma's shoulder, sleep, because I was a child. That's what children do. They doze off. But when I started understanding life and my grandma left here and all the things, I was like, let me listen to what these folks in here talking about. Because what they, huh? And once I started understanding that there was some healings, a bomb and Gilead, I don't care nothing about it. I don't care nothing about it. My point is, I'm trying to challenge us to want to do more for God. I'm trying to challenge us to understand that you are so caught up in the old wine of a thing that when it stretches past whatever you're used to, then here you come complaining, but you don't complain about nothing else. You don't complain about no music. You don't care about no movies. You'll sit in a movie. Batman was 3 hours. I dozed off, woke back up, and he still hadn't killed the Joker yet. I looked at Corey. I said, how much longer? But we'll sit there. You know why? Because we have attention and time for the things that we value. The question is, what do you value? The question is, what do you love most? And I know I'm off of my wine skin. We ain't gonna even finish this. I'm gonna let it go. But when you think about how we do a thing, this is the last example, and we ain't gonna read the rich young ruler, because I thank you, Holy Spirit, for this. The rich young ruler had followed every rule. He said, I honor my mother and my father. I do this, I do that, I honor the Sabbath. I mean, he went, if you went on paper, the rich young ruler looked like heaven was his home, period. He was a rich, y'all don't understand. He was a rich man, young man, single, could have been with every woman he wanted. He was a ruler. He got power, he got money, but he honoring God in his actions. You know how much discipline you got to have power and be a ruler and young and rich and still honor God, not sleeping around with all the women in your city. The Bible, the way they painted this man was honoring God, but God said, hey, sell everything and give it to me. Because you know, God gets down to the root of a matter. Yeah, you honoring me, not sleeping around. Yeah, you da 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 da. Yeah, you show up every Sunday. Yes, you teach. Yeah, but you still love something more than me. There's still something you won't give up for my sake. And whatever it is, you got to release it. You got to let go. I have to ask myself that all the time. What do I love more than God? Do I love my title as Esquire more than I love God? Do I love my husband more than I love God? I love Corey. Y'all know. And look, he went and got his ears pierced yesterday. He's so fine. Oh, Jesus. I've been looking at him all night long. He went and got both his ears pierced. Baby, he came out there. I've been on him all day and night. He looks so good. Okay, because I love this man. But as much as I love Corey Graham, I don't love him more than I love God. I love him, but I'm not going to hell for him. He on his own, baby. He can say right now, I don't believe in Jesus. And guess what? I'm going to church. Guess what I'm gonna do? Pray over him. But I ain't gonna stress. I'm not arguing with him. I'm not gonna be like, you need to love the Lord. I'm like, baby, I paid your insurance up. So, maybe we need to up it to 1 million because you might leave here a little sooner than later. You don't believe in God. Like, my point is, I love him, but I don't love him more than God. I love my nieces and my nephew. I don't love them more than God. I love my mom. I don't love my mama more than God. You understand me? My point is, God says, whatever it is, I need you to search and figure out what is the old wine in your life that you prefer, that you think is better, that's comfortable, that you love more than where I'm trying to get you, because that you better deal with. I'm done, Rox. It's on y'all.
Wow. Y'all need to unmute and say something. Say something to you. I mean, let's just unmute. Unmute. We've been holding on, listening in,